Peace, family. Top of the morning, Grand Rising. Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak is officially done. We have completed Ramadan. We on part 22. I know it's a little dark in here. Why? Because I'm out early. My grandmother used to always tell me, early bird gets the worm. So I'm out early trying to, put some coins together and things of that nature and, get my plan in order and stuff. So hope you're doing the same thing too as well. We on part 22, moving right along. Hope you enjoy part 21. And if you missed part 21 or any other part, you can always go to my channel and watch everything from start to finish. You won't miss a beat. So we left off with the paperwork, showing some of the documents that's required to have, and I want to say this, that doesn't apply to every institution. There are some institutions that, guys really don't care to show or to even see anybody's paperwork. So, you have a whole lot of, things that's not supposed to be there. You have the low security. Well, let me start with this. You have minimum security, which is the camp in the federal system. Then you're gonna have the low security. Low security, it gets real ugly because, you're gonna have a lot of child molesters, a lot of guys that's not right, that shouldn't be walking the yard, they can be walking the yard and things of that nature. So, you have those things like that in there, minimum security, which is the camp, you're gonna have a lot of white collar crime, credit card fraud and things like that. You may have some senators that got caught up in cases that's there, things like that. Then you have the medium, after the minimum low security, you have the medium security. You have medium, then you have medium high. Medium is where, you're gonna start seeing the checking of the paperwork, as I stated. And then you have, after that, which is the maximum security prison. The short name for them is called the USP, which stands for United States Penitentiary. This is where it ain't no game at. This is where it's being checked. Mandatory, you must have it. And I'm not saying that there's not guys there that's messed up, that may slip through the crack, but for the most part, the norm is you must have that in order to walk the yard. You're not walking if you don't have that. Sorry, And then obviously after the maximum security, you have the super max, which is ADX. That is where kind of the worst of the worst is there. Is in Florence, Colorado. Have many people there that's sentenced to do the remaining of their life there. Things like that. So yeah, so I'm there, in California, trying to get dug in, man, trying to figure things out. I got a 20-year sentence to do. So, at nighttime, when I'm laying down, I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking like, man, I got 20 years to do, man. How am I gonna get through this? Once again, I'm still on the wild side mentally. So, my way of coping with it at that particular time was just to stay turned up. That way I don't have to sit and think about the time, So I was a little more on the aggressive side, if you will, at that particular time. And not that because I wanted to be that way, but it was just my way of coping with it so I don't have to deal with the pain of being there, And so, everyday life was different from the free world. You get up, I kind of got up real early, 5 in the morning, brush my teeth. And let me say this about brushing your teeth. Don't spit in that sink. You don't spit in that sink. And you always spit in the toilet. You spit that thing in the toilet. And I know you might say, well, when you home, you spit in the sink. Well, that is true, but you're around family. This is somebody that you just meeting, you don't know what kind of germs they have and things of that nature. So the norm in every prison system is that you spit in the toilet. Another thing that you must understand when you're urinating, for the men, I always kneel down. I put my slipper down there and kneel on the slipper and kneel down, because you don't want a man to hear you urinating. It's kind of weird, to hearing that. So, out of respect for the man that you're living with, you kneel down and you urinate that way. And then, a lot of times you have a spray bottle and you spray, disinfectant around there and wipe it to keep everything clean, man. We living together and we want to make sure that we minimize the germs, as best we could. And then obviously, I'll go outside the cell and let my cellie have his time to get himself ready, because he go to work at 7:30. You got breakfast around 6 o'clock. At that time, it's around 6 o'clock. And probably a little bit before that, go to breakfast, and then you come back to the unit, and then they'll have, a 7:30 work call move. If you're working, you go to work. If you want to go to recreation, if you want to go to education and whatnot, you get a 10-minute move to get there. Being as though I'm the new guy, I had to go straight from breakfast to laundry to get my clothing, my khaki pants, underwears, t-shirts, towels, things of that nature, to get me through what I'm about to go through. And then obviously after that, you're gonna have to go to medical, get your little checkup, dentist, get your little checkup with that, make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to work. Then you'll have a meeting with the counselor. He'll kind of just, go over what the expectation is on the unit. Bed should be made by 7:30, cells should be clean, it's really not a whole lot of laying around, at least where I was at. When those doors pop, you're gonna see at least 85% of the unit out. We like to call it out on deck. Guys got big mugs of coffee like this, no cream and all that kind, straight black. We call it straight drop, so you could be alert and on point. Because you never know when something is going to kick off, and like I said, in the feds, they have what's called cars. Cars mean what city you from, that's the car that you're in. That's considered a car, right? A vehicle that you're traveling with. So you never know what could have happened the night before. Your car may have got into it with another car and you didn't get that message yet. And guess what? Now your car's into it with that other car and you in there sleeping, and the car that's considered an op could be plotting like, okay, it's another dude in there from New York, let's go get him. And you in there sleeping, then they come in there and clean you up, and then boom. So you want to be up, you want to be on point. A lot of times, what guys will do, they come out, check the perimeter, make sure everything is good, check with their car, everything good. And then if they want to go lay back down, they lay back down. Maybe in the next part I'll get into more details of what I've experienced, mentally dealing with that, man. Because that's a lot, man, where you have to just be constantly on point, and I'll share some of the experiences I had where I was so tired I needed to take a nap, and what I had to do to be able to have a comfortable nap. Very, very heavy on your mind when you're going through things like that. So yeah, and then, you see the counselor, maybe the psych department, make sure you got all your screws on right and things of that nature, They don't gotta give you no medication and stuff like that. And then, you go to education department, they wanna see, do you got your GED? If you don't have it, they're gonna roll you in the classes to get your GED. And then, you can make your phone calls to your family. They have a phone in there. It's 20-minute calls, and once you get off the phone, you gotta wait. Some places that I've seen, when I first got in, there was an hour you had to wait to get back on. So it ain't no, oh, let me call you right back. No. You call back in an hour. Another place I was in, it was 20 minutes you had to wait. So it all varies on the institution that you're in. So, you know, you on there, you know, some guys are chasing. What I mean, chasing their wives. What you doing? What was that I heard in the background? You know, that kind of thing, you know. You chasing, man, you know, because you trying to hold on to hope that, man, they just don't leave me. You know, and we'll get into that, you know, the depths of that part right there of the bed, you know, that has to be understood of what the men go through. And you know, the females too as well. They go through a whole lot more than we go through, because a lot of times they don't have the support that the men have, you know, and we'll get into that too as well. So I just wanted to touch on those few points, because I'm about to get out and gotta get some coins, man. You know, it ain't nothing like getting some extra coins, man. So I just want to drop those few jewels. And this is part 22, you know. So I hope you're enjoying it. You know, leave something in the comment section. Tell me what you think. You know, tell me what you don't think. Tell me something, man. Just talk to me. I got ears, I can hear. But I hope you enjoy the family, man. You know, I'm enjoying this, man. It's therapeutic for me. You know, it might be hard for you to understand, but it's really therapeutic for me, and it's helping me in my journey. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button. Also like and share, you know, things of that nature. And I'm leaving as I always do. Remember, your potential for greatness is unlimited.